If you're looking for improving your life, a method to improve your life, a method to focus more, something that will instigate a huge amount of positive change in your life, then this might be just the video for you. I'm going to be going over how exactly you can leverage a dopamine detox starting right now in your life. I'm sure you've heard the term a lot of times before. I'm sure you have seen a lot of videos about it as well before. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I want to make this video more simplified and more focused towards the entrepreneurs that who want to grow, their business, their life, and so on. With that being said, let's get started with our video. First, let's go over the motivation. What is dopamine? Dopamine is a hormone that plays a key part in the reward system that our brain has. Whenever you do something that's productive, fulfilling, and also something that fulfills your core biological purpose, then that hormone is released. What is your core biological purpose? Well, it's releasing and spreading your genes to the next generation to ensure that your genetic information doesn't die out. That's your goal. And you do that through reproduction. That's how you ensure that your core biological purpose is fulfilled. And our brains, we as a human being want to only get the best possible selection of partners. That's why we seek that money, fame, power, and so on. That's why we work hard every single day. That's why we chase that grind. We grind every single day for that cash, that increase in fame, that increase in status, that increase in power. That's why we do it, for that release in dopamine. That's why you need dopamine to be happy, right? If you don't have dopamine, you can't feel happiness in your life. The thing with happy, fulfilling, and actually productive tasks is that the dopamine that's being released is actually good, right? It increases your baseline dopamine level. But negative habits such as binge watching, social media, Netflix and so on, scrolling through social media, and all those negative habits, right? They all generate cheap sources of dopamine. Meaning, you get dopamine very instantaneously, right? Which your brain gets easily addicted to. But because it's very instantaneous, like I mentioned before, you get really addicted to it, and also you get that guilt feeling like, oh, I shouldn't have really done that, I shouldn't have really, eaten that junk food, or I shouldn't have really, scrolled through YouTube so long, That kind of guilt feeling really bothers you. So that will start decreasing your dopamine even more, and because of the cheap sources of dopamine, you feel guilt, and because of all that guilt and so on, your baseline dopamine levels will start decreasing. Because of that, you would need to do more of that same activity to experience that same high. It's basically the same, it's kind of the same thing with drugs as well. It pretty much works how drugs work, right? You need, after a point in time, that same dose won't give you the same high. So you gotta take in more, you gotta snort more lines. So that's how it pretty much works when it comes to dopamine as well, especially if you are consuming cheap sources of dopamine. That's why it is much more beneficial and productive to go with the actually positive sources of dopamine, the real healthy ones, such as working out, hustling hard, growing that business, and actually doing something that improves your life in the long term, right? That will contribute to the good sources of dopamine. Now that I've discussed the reason why, how the whole, I've basically discussed how the hormone dopamine works, and also a little bit, I've given you a little bit of background when it comes to the reward center in our brain. Now let's go over why you should do a dopamine detox. Now, the reason why you should do a dopamine detox is because you want to do a hard reset on everything, right? You want to do a hard reset on all the negative stuff that has been happening to you before, right? You have been binge watching YouTube, Netflix, and so on every single day. You have been eating that junk food. You've not been working out. You've been just wasting your time doing all sorts of irrelevant activities. I know that you know what I'm talking about. You're just wasting your time, right? So you want to remove all of that. You want to remove all the negative effects of that. And for that, the first step is to actually do a hard reset on your dopamine levels. And you do that through a dopamine detox, which is basically the title of this video. Now, a dopamine detox is basically, like I mentioned before, a hard reset. And you do that through eliminating all those negative habits that I mentioned before. I know I've been saying the word hard reset a bunch of times now, but I just want to explain it to you very thoroughly. The way you do that hard reset is through actually eliminating all those negative habits completely, right? That would make your brain basically rewire and reconfigure itself. Now, if you get rid of all those negative habits at once for a little bit of time, then you'll be ending up with a bunch of free time, right? You'll be having a lot of free time, and in that free time you want to be actually doing the positive actions that will benefit you when it comes to your life, your hustle, your business, everything. Basically the activities that will give you long-term gains when it comes to your life. Now, here's the action plan that I want to go over with you. It's a very easy one. It's a very simple one to follow. Number one, you write down all the cheap sources of dopamine, the dirty pleasures and sources of dopamine that you have right now. You can, for example, eating food, junk food, binge watching YouTube, scrolling through social media, all the activities that are wasting your time and giving you cheap sources of dopamine. Then you write down the most productive tasks that you can do. Learning new skills, building that business, going to the gym, networking with other people, having more sales calls, and so on, right? You write down all those tasks. Then what you do next is eliminate all those dirty habits and sources of dopamine for 7 days at least to start off with. 7 days at least, right? For a full week at least. And then because of that, you're going to have a lot of free time in your day, like I mentioned before. In that free time, you start doing the productive tasks. Instead of watching YouTube, you actually work on that skill. Instead of scrolling through Instagram, you actually start building your business. You focus on improving the cash flow and revenue that your business is bringing in, and start actually working on that hustle that you have going. So that's pretty much the video. I hope this was beneficial. I hope you found a lot of value out of it. It's a raw video. I wanted to give you all my thoughts on a very unfiltered basis. So that's why there aren't much edits, and that's why you can see me stuttering a little bit here and there. It's because I'm trying to just organize my thoughts. With that being said, you have a great day and hope you found value out of this video. If you did find value, like, subscribe, and share.